JHK here for the AllStar, and join me right now is Bellator welterweight contender Oliver Enkamp. Thank you, Oliver, for the time, man. It's been a long minute. How are you feeling?
It sure has. Feel good, thanks. It's great to be here, and I'm excited to get back into the cage again.
Yeah, after your last fight in France in late 2020, did you ever expect to be returning 14 months later?
Definitely not. No, I thought I would return at the beginning of next year, and well, the pandemic hit, and they closed down the European scene for all spring. So I had to get a U.S. visa to fight in the States instead. And that process was a real pain in the ass, to be frank. And it was hard to get an interview at these embassies because they were all closed due to COVID. So I had to find other countries where they would let me in to get this visa interview. And I ended up going to Madrid and getting my US visa there at the embassy. And then I was supposed to fight before summer. But my opponent pulled out 2 weeks before. It was too short of a notice to get an replacement. So my fight got postponed and postponed, and here we are a while later. December 3rd, 3 weeks to go. I hope everything goes according to plan from here on.
Well, I hope so too, man, and I think it will. Could you reveal like who you're supposed to fight? I didn't even see anything about you fighting anybody.
Yeah, I never got to announce it because of the visa, and it that's why it wasn't official. But I actually signed a contract and everything, and it was supposed to be Eric Silva, who's a very big name. He was in the UFC also, and that would have been a great fight, I think. And I had a 3 month training camp for this fight, but then yeah, 2 weeks before the fight, it got pulled.
Yeah, that is a good matchup, man. I like that stylistically for
Yeah,
both you guys. Exciting.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
How come they didn't put that fight back together?
I asked so too, because that would be a good fight, but I don't know if it's true. I heard a rumor he retired, um, and I don't think he's fought since we were supposed to fight. So I don't know what's up, but I know like he has a family and everything, so he has probably other stuff going on. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll
Maybe
see.
it happens in the future.
Yeah, maybe. I hope so. I hope it does. If he's not retired, I hope he does come back and fight you. I think that is something that everybody could be looking forward to. Besides having a camp that you didn't, fight at the end of it, what else did you do to keep yourself busy, to keep your mind off all the negative stuff that's going on?
See, I run a martial arts center, and it has been so in my family since I've grown up. So I'm always busy, and I'm always doing something that relates to martial arts, whether it's teaching classes or planning schedules or cleaning the dojo or whatever. So my life is basically 24/7 martial arts. So I'm not very stressed out if I don't get a fight, because I know I'll be occupied anyway. So the fights is just like a bonus for me. It's something I do for myself, while uh, when I'm at my martial arts academy, I can do something more for others and help. So I think it's a good combination. It's a good mix for me, and keeps the stress away because I'm not dependent on making money on fighting.
Now, you're actually currently in Las Vegas, and you got belts hanging in the back. Are those your belts?
No, no, they're my host, Jake. I stay at his house, and they're all like grappling
Yeah,
championships. Naga
yeah.
looks pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it does. I was like,
I get
I
the
was like, yeah, you set up the house all nice, for your stay.
brought
Now,
them with me.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So you're at Syndicate MMA, getting some work in. When did you land in Vegas?
I landed here a week ago, uh, by tomorrow. Yeah, and I thought it would be good to kind of get acclimatized to the time zones, and it takes a toll on your body when you travel. So I don't want to jump off an airplane and then go straight into a fight. especially not during fight week when you have other stresses on your body like the weight cut and stuff. So I'm here now to train for 3 weeks, and then I will fly to Connecticut for my fight.
Weren't you in Vegas like a couple months back? I remember seeing you in some stories, like you were in the house with Avery and them. Is that the same house?
It's the same house, yeah. So Avery and Jake, who are my hosts here, they have contact with my manager, Ruby Management. So my manager introduced me to them, and so I can always stay here when I come to train. And I love Vegas. I love Syndicate MMA, so it's a great place for me to come and cut away all the distractions going on, because I don't have the same amount of recovery and rest between trainings when I'm home, since I have the martial arts facilities. I'm always doing something, so it's good to kind of just zone in on my own training now this past few weeks.
Yeah, definitely. And what kind of training are you doing at Syndicate? Are you focusing on one particular thing?
I'm following the schedule of their professional team. So it's Coach John Wood who leads the practices here. And there's different focus on different days. But obviously, I'm fighting a specialist. He's a college wrestler. And they have a lot of good wrestling fighters here, and also a coach, Frank, who's a wrestling expert. So I can get a lot of valuable knowledge, especially for this fight now.
Yeah, how has it been working with Frank Hickman, right? The wrestling coach. Have you been doing like
Yes.
one-on-one classes with him?
Not yet. I've been attending his classes so far, but I will definitely do some privates before I leave here. And yeah, it's great to be able to pick his brain, and I always like to learn as much as possible from specialists in their own sort of martial art. Like the boxers know things about striking that we MMA guys don't, and the jiu-jitsu guys who only focus in on that, they also have their tricks up their sleeve that we MMA guys don't, and so the wrestlers and all the other martial artists. So I think it's great to go to specialists every now and then and add new things to your MMA game.
No doubt. And I think that you have shown that throughout your career so far. You know what I mean? Like you have, like you're submitting guys, like often now.
Yeah,
It's like, they want to
yeah,
wrestle you. Okay, I'm going to take me down and I'm going to submit you, right?
yeah, right, exactly.
Now, when they announced this matchup, right? Because you're ranked number 10 at welterweight. I expected you to fight somebody ahead of you because you're on a 3-fight win streak. You haven't even lost in the promotion yet. I thought maybe Paul Daly was an exciting matchup, or maybe even Derek Anderson. When they told you Kyle Crutchmer, did it surprise you?
A little bit, to be honest. I mean, I was looking through the list, and most of the fighters top 10 ranked had already fought or were booked for fights. So there were only a few options left. But when I researched Kyle, he's still a known, still a big name, not in MMA yet, but from college wrestling where he comes from. So I know there's gonna still be a lot of eyes on the fight, and he's like a upcoming prospect, and so am I. So that's why it still makes sense to me to take this fight. And then from here on, I will try to fight people further up in the rankings, so I'll rise quickly.
For sure. And Kyle, he is a wrestler, like you said, deep pedigree in that. What else do you see in his skill set?
I think his striking and other abilities are not to be underestimated, because he's very athletic, and you can see he has technique and physique to back it up. So even though you think he's a pure wrestler, I still see he got hands and kicks. So it's MMA; anything can happen. You need to be aware of all the distances that where there might be danger. So I'm not gonna try to focus in too much on what he's good at or what he's doing, because I think that's a big mistake that some fighters do, and that means you will be playing your opponent's game. So I'm gonna impose my game on him instead, because we're not gonna wrestle, we're gonna fight now. So Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
That's
different game when you have punch and kicks and knees and elbows and all that good stuff. So, are you expecting another submission, or do you think the knockout will present itself in this fight?
Well, if you go back and watch my first three fights, in the first one I submitted a striker. In the second one, I knocked out a grappler. Then again, I submitted a striker. So the math says what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna knock out the grappler, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll,
Yeah.
it's in the hands of the universe.
That's right. That's right. Now,
Yeah.
since you are a up and coming contender in the division, the champ that's sitting on top is Yaroslav Amosov, and it seems like the next title shot is up for grabs, right? There's a couple names out there like Jason Jackson, maybe MVP or the Lima rematch. What do you think makes the most sense?
Yeah, it's a tough question because my initial response would be to put MVP there, but since the last fight went to a decision, I can see they're making a trilogy out of that one too, and I don't know who that leaves next for the title shot, like the number third ranked,
Jason
because I
Jackson.
think MVP and okay, yeah, yeah. So I guess, well, someone of those, either MVP or Jason Jackson would be the most logical ones next in line, I guess.
In your eyes, did you think MVP beat Lima in the rematch, or was that home cooking?
I think it was very close. I would have to see the fight again to give a good opinion on that. But I wasn't sure he was gonna win, to be honest, because of the takedowns, and yeah, it was very, very close.
What do you think about
What
takedowns?
did you
What did I think? I thought that exactly it was very
think?
close, and there were some arguments for MVP winning that fight, but it seemed like Lima wasn't knocked down from strikes. It seemed like he slipped,
Right.
and I think that
Yeah,
makes a
yeah,
huge difference.
yeah, totally. But I mean, right now, since they changed the rules, the number one criteria is effective striking grappling, right? Like making damage. So I guess takedowns doesn't rank as high anymore, even though it looks very, what's the word? Uh, Spectacular. You pick someone up and slam them down. Okay, you took him down to the mat, but you're not really creating any damage doing that. It's just a spectacular move. But if we look at moves that ends fights, it's just strikes and submission holds, right? Not top control or octagon control or takedowns, really. So according to that criteria, whoever inflicts the most damage should always be the winner.
Yes, for sure. And Jason Jackson, maybe he might get the title shot against Amosov. How do you see that fight playing out? That's an interesting matchup.
Yeah. Um, I haven't seen too much of Jason Jackson, to be honest. Um, but I mean, Amasov, in my eyes, he's like the Khabib of Bellator. He's like 26-0 or something like that, right? And wrestles people down. But the top at the top, when we talk about Jason Jackson and Lima and MVP and Amazon, I think it's so tight up there. Like they're all so good. So I think anyone could beat anyone on a good night. I don't think like there's a real number one, two, three, and four, because the skill level is so high and the margins are so small at this level. So one little mistake is going to cost you a whole fight. So yeah, it's hard to make predictions because of that.
Definitely. PTSD, PTSD from injuries or losses or even damaging wars inside the cage. Does it exist among fighters?
Absolutely. I think there is much evidence that shows that too much trauma to the head, especially, can cause PTSD. We've seen this in not only fighters, but also in like football players and hockey players and stuff. So it's definitely a reality, and that's why I think you need to be very smart with how you train. And like in Thailand, for example, I've been there training. The Thais, they don't do any hard sparring. They play around and then they fight. So they save the brain cells for the fight, right? And Coach Kavanaugh, Conor McGregor's coach, he phrased it nicely, like upgrading your software without damaging your hardware. And I think this is the approach we need to take if we want longevity in this sport, and avoid things like PTSD. But that's when we talk about like physical damage to the brain. Then of course you can talk about like emotional damage, or we have seen a lot of fighters that retired and then I don't know what happens, but some kind of identity crisis, I guess, because they've been fighting for the majority of their lives and suddenly they don't know what to do with their energy in their life, and so they fall into some kind of depression or trauma, and we see comeback after comeback because of this. So that's also why I think it's important to educate yourself in other areas. Like I'm very inspired by how the old samurai warriors approached their life. They said like you shouldn't just know one thing, but you should explore all the professions. So you should be a scholar, you should be reading, you should do art and painting or whatever, and then you work on your martial art as well. And I try to live that lifestyle. I think balance is super important for mental health.
Oh, completely agree. Did you watch Age of Samurai on Netflix?
I just saw the trailer, and I actually am planning to watch it over here in Vegas on my computer.
All right, man. It's a good show. It's a good series. I liked it, man. I got educated extremely about samurais in that one. So, yeah, if you're into samurais or you're watching this, go check it out. One last thing before I let you go. This is a open-ended question. You could answer any way you want. What keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night? I guess there's a lot of ways to answer this question. Since I started, I'm gonna talk about this. Since I started meditating, that was like almost 2 years ago now. I'm sleeping very well. And I always do it in the evening before I go to bed. So I don't stay up very much anymore, because I've always been a very like structured person that plans everything ahead, and I'm always going through my mind like, what am I supposed to do tomorrow, and check things off, and I would always be living in my head until I started doing a regular meditation practice. And it's when you go to bed, everything gets silent, so that's when your thoughts start to come, and that would keep me up all night. Sometimes I would look at the clock, I've been lying thinking about different things for hours, and that would affect my sleep, which would affect my mood and performance the following day. So being able to meditate right before bed, just emptying the mind, getting all the thoughts out that's totally unnecessary most of the time, I can sleep well, and there's nothing that keeps me up anymore at night.
All right. Well, December 3rd, Bellator 272, Mohegan Sun Arena in Connecticut. Oliver is back in action. Thank you so much for the time, and
Sure.
always a good chat, man. Take care.
Absolutely. Thank you.